presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
A win today sends the Indians into the All-Star break at the 500 mark. Not as good as 2013 when the Tribe stood at 51-44 and trailed the first-place Tigers by just a game and a half, but still within striking distance. An offense led by Michael Brantley will look to take off, and a rotation fronted by Corey Kluber will try to set the tone after the break. Trevor Bauer gets the start in the final game before the respite. Next on Sports Time Ohio. Welcome into All-Star Week here on Sports Time Ohio. Today the Indians wrap up their series against the Chicago White Sox right here at Progressive Field. Hi again, everyone. I'm Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. So after today, the Indians will have 4 days off to regroup and get ready to try and run down the Detroit Tigers in the American League Central Division. Interesting, though, Rick, when you look at the numbers between this year's team and last year's team going into the All-Star break, they're actually very similar despite the fact that the record isn't quite as good.
Well, it is a little scary when you look at the runs per game. They're very comparable, and the starters' ERA doesn't look bad. The bullpen has been outstanding. They've been a lot better this year, but the errors have gone up this year. The unearned runs has been one thing. But when you break down the starting pitching, the starters have earned 9 less wins this year than they did last year. They had 34 at the break. They only have 25 this year. That's put more pressure on the bullpen, and it just seems offensively they haven't had that mojo working like they did last year, although they do have 6 walk-off wins.
Probably another reason why last year, going into the All-Star break, the Indians had 6 win streaks of 4 games or more. This year, only 3. We'll see if the Tribe can get a win to take the series from Chicago and head into the break with a little positive momentum. The play-by-play between the Indians and the Windy City Gang from Chicago is coming up next. Hi, McDonald's, I'm loving it. by your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. By Panini's, get overstuffed at Panini's Bar and Grill. And by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. Well, after a rainy morning, it looks like it's going to be a beautiful afternoon here at the ballpark as the Indians and the White Sox put the wraps on this 3-game series and head into the All-Star break. Trevor Bauer on the mound for the Tribe this afternoon. Let's take a look at the starting lineup that he will face for Robin Ventura and the Chicago White Sox, brought to you by Toyota. Alejandro De Aza in the leadoff spot. Then it's Carlos Sanchez, just called up from AAA, and he's batting second in there for the injured Alexei Ramirez. Jose Abreu bats third. Then it's Adam Dunn, Dion Viciedo, and Connor Gillespie. Gordon Beckham, Tyler Flowers, and Lurie Garcia rounded out.
Our GMC starting pitcher today will be Trevor Bauer. And Trevor is making his 12th start this year. A 3-4 record, 423 earned run average. Pitched very well in this ballpark. He's 3-1 with a 332. He is coming off a win against the Yankees. He pitched around 3 errors in that ball game. They trailed early, but they scored late, and he ended up getting the win. Let's check out the defense for the Tribe behind Bauer. Brought to you by Kia. In the outfield, Aviles in left. Brantley is in center. Rayburn in right. It'll be Chisenhall at third. Cabrera at short. Kipnis is at second. Santana is at first, with Yan Gomes doing the catching.
A lot of pregame chatting going on between Dan Isanya, the crew chief, and now Terry Francona. Not sure what that's about, but Dan Isanya will call the balls and strikes. C.B. Buckner at first. Gary Cedarstrom, the crew chief, is at second, and Hal Gibson is at third. Looks like we're ready to go now, as Trevor Bauer will try to slow down the Chicago White Sox lineup. Alejandro De Aza in the leadoff spot. He's gone 2 for 8 in the series. Bauer into the windup, and we're underway with the first pitch strike. 78 degrees, our game time temperature, just a few clouds overhead. Just missed with that pitch to even the count of 1-1.
You remember early in the last start for Trevor Bauer, he had a little trouble commanding his fastball. He was bouncing a lot of pitches early, and it seemed like he said after that 70th pitch that he got into a groove where he says it takes him a little while to get out into a game and relax. But once he does, it's free and easy, and he lets it go. And this guy gets stronger as the game goes on a lot of times.
Now 1-2 pitch, swung on and missed. He strikes him out, 1 away. Take a look at today's injury report, brought to you by the attorneys at Elk & Elk. Alexei Ramirez is day-to-day with back stiffness. Adam Eaton also day-to-day with a left wrist. And Scott Carroll, who left yesterday's start with a back problem as well. But Ramirez, after the game, really sounded confident he will be able to play in the All-Star game, but not well enough to go today. So that's why the White Sox called up this young man, Carlos Sanchez. At 22 years old, he was the 3rd youngest player in the International League, but as you can see by the numbers, having a terrific season. 291 average, 42 runs batted in, 13 doubles, half dozen triples, and a dozen stolen bases. Now the 2-0. Broke his bat, and Kipnis will make the catch near the bag for out number 2. The keys to the game are brought to you by Wayside Furniture. For Trevor Bauer, the key here, finish the first half strong going into the All-Star break. And for the Indians offensively, try to be aggressive against John Danks. Offensively, this is a Chicago team, ranks 11th in the American League in batting average. 6th, though, in runs scored. A lot of that has to do with their ability, led by this man, to hit the long ball. They're 5th in home runs, 29 of their 98 team home runs have come off the bat of Jose Abreu, who leads the league, and he's also third in runs batted in.
Well, he has 50 extra base hits going into the break, and that's unbelievable.
He's at an off-speed pitch. It's 0-2.
200 total bases. There comes Bauer with a breaking ball. He couldn't stop it. Continued through it. He's down in the count now, 0-2.
And he yanks one into left field, so he made him look bad with 2 pitches, but Abreu still gets a base hit on an 0-2 pitch.
Well, he left this one in the strike zone, and that's the difference. Check it out on our Nissan pitch tracker. They want it down and away, and what's he do? He leaves it up. So the big man gets a base hit on a bad 0-2 pitch.
Though holding Abreu to a single is tantamount to a small victory.
Yeah, he had 7 hits coming into this game. 5 of the 7 on the year were home runs. And that's now 8 hits.
Adam Dunn pops the first pitch out of play. A little bit high, and it's 1-1 for Adam Dunn, who has gone 2 for 8 in the series with a home run. Like Carlos Santana of the Indians, Dunn, very good eye at the plate. He has drawn 54 walks, and that is the 3rd most in the league. Carlos Santana leads the league in free passes as he holds Abreu with 2 down here in the first. Missed outside with it, 2 balls and a strike. Fouled right back by Dunn. Breaking ball in the dirt. Dunn did not go, and down to second goes Abreu as it skipped away from Gomes. So a wild pitch puts Abreu into scoring position, and now a full count for Adam Dunn. Wild pitch. 14 doubles, along with his 14 homers for Dunn. And the payoff pitch. A little bit inside. 2-out walk keeps the inning alive now for Diane Viciedo.
Well, he wasn't going to miss with anything out over the plate in that situation after that wild pitch. He was going to make that perfect pitch inside or walk him, and he walked him. So there's first and second, and then bring the right-hander Viciedo up.
25th walk against 61 strikeouts this year for Bauer. The Indians have pitched Viciedo tough in this series. He is 1 for 8 with 4 strikeouts. Two on for Chicago, 2 out here in the first. Slowly chopped towards second base. Kipnis flips it to first. And the inning is over. No runs a hit, 2 men left. Now the Indians are coming to bat when we come back. Starting lineup for Terry Francona this afternoon. It's brought to you by Progressive. Jason Kipnis in the leadoff spot. Then it says Dribble Cabrera. Michael Brantley, 6th in the league in batting average, tied for 8th in runs batted in, will hit 3rd. Carlos Santana, Ryan Rayburn, Nick Swisher in the middle. Then it's Yan Gomes, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Mike Aviles.
GMC starting pitcher is left-hander John Danks. He's 29 years old, making his 19th start. He's 8-6 this year with a .415 earned run in his last 7 starts. He has a record of 5-1 and a .340, so he's been pitching very well.
And his first pitch almost hit Kipnis in the right shoulder. He had to spin out of the way.
And what a difference a year makes for Danks as well. Last year, left-handed hitters hit .298 with 11 homers and 37 ribbies. This year, they're down to .257 with 2 homers and 11 ribbies.
Hard to know what to make of Danks in his 2 starts against the Indians this year. First time out at home, he went 6 innings, gave up 3 runs. Next time he faced him a few weeks later here in Cleveland, he went 5 innings, gave up 8 runs and 10 hits.
Yeah, he's a guy that has to keep the ball down. He cuts it into the right-handers. He's got the breaking ball. He's got to keep it down. He wants you to put it in play. He has 79 strikeouts. He's about a hit per inning guy.
Kipnis pulling it foul, and obviously it's a Jekyll and Hyde between home and away this year for him.
Yeah. You know, and that ballpark that he pitches in at home is not an easy ballpark to pitch in, the way that carries there.
Yeah. It's not exactly a pitcher's paradise, that's for certain.
Right.
But Mark Burley proved over the years if you keep the ball down, even in Chicago, you can be successful. Problem is, if you're a fly ball pitcher there, you're not going to last long, I don't think.
Well, yeah, you're going to have your days that you're going to give up a lot of long ones. But he's a guy that has to keep it off the middle of the bat by, changing speeds, backing off.
Kipnis working the count. 9th pitch of the at-bat. Pops it in the air. Viciedo in right field. Makes the catch, 1 away.
Let's check out that Kia Sox defense for you behind Danks today. It'll be Deasa in left field, Garcia in center, Viciedo is in right, Gillespie at third, Sanchez at short, Garcia he's playing 2 positions. This guy is good today. Dunn is at first, and Flowers is behind the plate. Beckham is at second.
Yeah. Although Garcia could play second. We've seen him. He can play just about anywhere.
I'll tell you, talented. He can play all over the diamond. Maybe tomorrow he'll be playing 3 positions.
He'll be playing all 9. As Dribble Cabrera trying to drive one to the opposite field, but Viciedo backing up to grab it, 2 down. Michael Brantley coming to the plate. He is 6th in the American League in hits with 113 so far. So as we take a look at our stat of the game, brought to you by Buick, all time among Indians players going into the All-Star break, look at where he ranks. That's some of the best hitters to have ever worn the Indians uniform right there. Lofton, Bell, Baerga.
It's a lot of hits.
Hall of Famer Robbie Alomar. Yeah, he's on pace to have a very special year. And what's been impressive is just the way he's gone about it and handled it. He's avoided the highs and the lows, and that's kind of what we've come to expect from Michael. A very steady, consistent performer.
Well, when you talk about some of the best outfielders in the game, his name never pops up because you don't know much about him.
Well, that's about to change, I would imagine, the way he continues to play. Indians go 1-2-3, no score after 1. Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call today for an appointment today. And by the Northeast Ohio Ford dealers. No score, second inning. Turned out to be a gorgeous day here at the ballpark. Connor Gillespie going to lead it off for Chicago. And a pitch down low, ball one. Gillespie has a hit in each of the first two games. Both hits have been doubles. Pops this one up foul. Maybe playable. Let's see. Chisenhall over to the railing. No. Gillespie steps away. This guy's been a terrific find for Chicago, coming over from San Francisco. Hits it hard and another base hit.
Well, he's swinging the bat very well right now. He's pulling the pitches on the inside part of the plate. He's going the other way. And he has been hot, and he's been on fire. Watch this pitch coming in, and he's going to turn on it.
Now Gillespie tearing it up against the Indians this year, and he's not just beating up on the Indians, though. He's having a terrific year. Gordon Beckham, on the other hand, is trying to get his year going. He's just 2 for his last 33. But one of those hits was a double yesterday that drove in a run. Breaking ball in for a strike, 1-1. A little low, 2-1. Bullseye on the outside part of the plate, 2-2. After the All-Star break, Chicago will open up a homestand against the Astros and the Kansas City Royals. And that starts their interdivisional stretch where they've got KC, Minnesota, Detroit, Minnesota all consecutively. 2-2 pitch. Off the end of the bat, over toward the line. Long run, and it's caught by Aviles just inside the line for out number one. And back at first, they didn't get there. Oh, they double up Gillespie. He was just cruising back to second base, and a great throw got him.
Lack of hustle right there, and I'll tell you what, Aviles, he made a very strong throw. Figuring that Gillespie was he was out there, but you got to hustle back and slide. And I mean to tell you, he gets it back, and it was a perfect strike. And I mean, that was a long throw, man. He's over near the seats. He's got it, and I think after he did that, he put the old gun in the holster like Westbrook.
He didn't realize Gillespie wasn't looking at his first base coach. He's just kind of cruising back.
That's
what a throw by Aviles, who doesn't play left field every day either.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a great throw by Mike. I don't know if we have it on camera. I think after he gunned him down, he put that gun back in the holster out there in left field, like
why wouldn't
Westbrook with Oklahoma City after he hits a 3. That was just a 2, double play.
Now Tyler Flowers, the 0-1 pitch, fouled back out of play. Now Michael Brantley has been a terrific outfielder in terms of throwing out runners all season long. But Mike Avila's with one we won't soon forget. Flowers just punched it into center field, reached out, nice piece of hitting.
I think you have to power your way through Tyler Flowers and make him hit your fastball. He keeps back, and he was going early, but that breaking ball, he kept his hands back enough and just slaps it into center field. Force him to beat you with that fastball. Look, that's a good pitch by Bauer.
Yeah, where it was. It's off the plate.
It's off the plate. It's down. Now, if he can hit that pitch, you got to power him in.
Second hit in the inning, third already for Chicago. Number 9 hitter is Leury Garcia. Takes the ball inside. Garcia only 1 for 6 in the series, but he has a pair of runs batted in.
That was the second hit given up by Bauer on 0-2 pitches. You remember Abreu got one on a breaking ball, and that one right there came on a breaking ball.
To right field. And Rayburn won't get to it. He'll cut it off. But on his way to third is Tyler Flowers, and now White Sox at the corners. Third hit of the inning, and the number 8 and 9 hitters.
How's that double play looking now? He just challenged him with a fastball right there. Garcia gets it, turns on it. Didn't hit it all that hard, but gets it in front of Rayburn, so it's first and third now with 2 outs.
Top of the order in Alejandro De Aza, who struck out his first time up. Good block by Gomes. Keeps everybody at their bases. Four hits for Chicago thus far, all singles. 1 walk, 1 strikeout for Bauer. Almost threw it away. Santana jumped up to grab it. No score, second inning. Chicago threatening with 2 outs. And that time he did throw it away, but it drilled Garcia. So the Indians catch a break.
Yeah, they sure do.
Santana, I don't think Santana ever got leather on it.
No, he didn't. And he's wearing it. Garcia's wearing it. Watch this. That wasn't even close because Santana says if I reach for it, he's going to get drilled by the guy coming back. So if it doesn't hit Garcia, it ricochets down towards the right field corner. But as far as Trevor Bauer goes, good thing it got the runner.
De Aza swings and pops it foul out of play.
Chicago already with 3 hits with 2 outs in this ball game in the first 2 innings. The first 2 games, they were just 1 for 18 with 2 outs.
Well, Diaz is just 2 for 9 in the series, but he's been swinging the bat much better. I mean, since June the 4th, he's hit .351 for the White Sox. earlier this week in Boston. He had a single, double, and a triple all in one game. Just missed the cycle. Missing the home run. The 1-1 pitch. Runner goes at first, and it's up high. No throw, and a steal for Garcia, his ninth. So now 2 in a scoring position.
Well, and he got a fastball up, and with a man on third, a lot of times teams won't throw through, and Gomes is coming up faking like he's going to throw, but he just holds on to the baseball, and Garcia gets his 9th stolen base.
3-1. Bauer's halfway to that 70 pitch mark.
Well, it
where
seems
for
like
whatever reason he said he starts to feel better once he gets about 70 pitches under his belt.
Well, and he always said, I've tried to throw more, throw less. He's done just about everything to try and come out and start the game on fire, but
hit foul.
Did that backswing catch Gomes, I think?
That's what I'm thinking. Did.
Yeah, let's take a look. Watch the backswing. The long swing, and boom, right on the side of the head. Stayed up, did not go down.
So a full count for De Aza. And the payoff pitch to left field. Aviles makes the catch. So Mike Aviles with a couple of nice plays defensively. This one was huge, a double play. The Indians and White Sox no score middle of the second. Second inning, bottom half, Indians will send Santana, Rayburn, and Swisher to the plate. John Dank set him down 1-2-3 in the first. And a good breaking ball over the outside part of the plate for a strike.
Yeah, big slow, get me over hook for strike one.
Hit him right in the mask. The foul ball went right back and just plunked Flowers, knocked his glasses sideways.
We've seen that a lot this homestand. That happened a couple of times to Cervelli. Remember in one game with the Yankees, and boy, oh boy, those guys take a little bit of punishment back there behind the plate.
Reached for it, bounced it foul. Carlos Santana. 8 hits in 36 at-bats on the homestand. Up high with it, 1-2. Count stays 1 ball, 2 strikes. Ryan Rayburn waiting on deck. Now the count evens at 2-2.
That little cutter in he likes to throw to the right-handers. He's got the changeup to go away with that big slow curve ball. Took something off. This year for John Danks, when he has gone 6 or more innings in starts, which has been 13 times out of 18 starts so far, he's 7-2 and a nice 2.49 ERA. Compared to last year, they were 6-16 in his starts. He had some shoulder surgery the year before that. Took him a while to come back. And he's back in shape.
Santana called out on strikes again. That's his 6th strikeout in 7 at-bats in the series.
Well, can you beat the best? Join millions of players now on the only official home run derby mobile game from MLB.com. You can square off against your friends from around the world live in multiplayer derby mode and climb to the top of the leaderboards. Download today for free on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
Ryan Rayburn getting a start today. Takes a strike. Rayburn just 1 at bat in the series. 1 for 6 on the homestand. However, in the last 6 games that both Ryan Rayburn and Mike Aviles have started together, the Indians are 5-1. Aviles has already had an impact with a good defensive play in left.
Well, this is a team that Rayburn has hit his whole career. He's got the most RBIs against them. He always hits for a good average against the White Sox. Even when he was with Detroit, that's where he built a lot of those numbers up.
Yeah.
And it's continued coming over to Cleveland.
One and 2 the count. No score, 2nd inning. Shoots it foul on the right side. Sometimes in baseball, you just never know from year to year. I mean, last season, Ryan Rayburn, everything he hit hard. He had 16 home runs last season and less than 300 plate appearances. But so far this year, only 2. He's worked the count full with 1 out in the 2nd inning. Get another look at a 3-2 pitch. be the 9th pitch of the at-bat for Rayburn. And he works it for a walk. First base runner for the Indians. And as Nick Swisher comes to the plate, we look back at our great clip of the first half. Nothing better than a walk-off grand slam, and that's what Nick Swisher did on June the 19th. Certainly one of the signature moments of the first half of the year. Gave the Indians a series win over the Angels and looked like they were ready to take off as a team. They were in a pretty good stretch right there, but Detroit came to town and swept them. And they've been trying to recover from that really ever since. They had won 7 of their last 10 before last night's loss. It's just been one of those years, Rick, where they've been fighting uphill all season long. They get to the top of the hill, and the snowball rolls back over top of them again.
Well, they just haven't been able to be consistent as far as putting win streaks together. You mentioned they have 6 win streaks of 4 more games before the break last year. They've only had 3, and it's just they just haven't been able to get it going. And I think a lot of it has to do with the starting pitching,
or keep it going. I guess they've gotten it going, but they can't keep it going.
Right. You know, you win 2, you lose 2. You know, there's just no consistency as far as getting on runs. When you get on runs as a ball club, you watch the clubs that win 7 to 10 in a row. That's when your offense takes off and your pitching's been solid.
Yep.
And your pitching, when it stays solid and then you win some one-run ball games, that's how you can reel off 7, 8, 9 wins in a row. But the Indians haven't been able to do that.
Swisher lines it into center field, a base hit. Rayburn stops at second. And the Indians have 2 on with 1 out now for Yan Gomes.
Well, there's a shot right back up the middle on a breaking ball. Looks like a little slider or cutter on the outside part of the plate. There it is on our slow motion replay. That was a changeup now that I saw the spin on that ball. And Swisher takes it right back up the middle. That's a good swing on a changeup away. Take it back up the middle. They now have first and second and 1 out.
Well, to kind of finish the point you were making, though, Rick, when the Indians had their best run of the season to this point, when they won 9 out of 10 at the beginning of June, we talked about it at the time. It was the starting pitching. They had gone 2 times through the rotation, and every start was good. I mean, they might have had 1 clunker in there, but they were all very good starts.
And they averaged about, what, 6 runs?
Oh, they were killing the ball. They beat Colorado. They beat Boston. They beat Texas.
Yeah, they were swinging the bats well, too. It was a nice combination.
1-0 pitch. But you know what? Look at San Francisco and how good they were. And why? Starting pitching.
Yeah.
Well, their starting pitching went in the tank, and so have they. They've got the worst record in baseball since, I believe the date was somewhere around middle of June.
Yeah, I mean, it goes hand in hand. I mean, you go as far as your pitching is going to carry you. You get into ruts. The bullpen for the Indians has been about as good as you can get. They've been pretty solid all year long. So, you know, the starters, I mean, they're young. How many guys are starting that were here at the start of the year when they broke out the first 5? Tomlin wasn't here.
Base hit into center field, coming around third. Rayburn will try to score. Here's the throw to the plate, cut off. Yan Gomes delivers with an RBI single, and the Indians will play from in front here today. It's Gomes' 34th run batted in on the year, and the Indians have had 3 straight reach safely against Danks now here in the second inning.
Well, Gomes hits that ball awfully hard because Sanchez at short. It's got to go up, and it's down in his wheelhouse. It caught a lot of the plate. Gomes just hits it hard. Rayburn able to come around. He's going to score, sliding into home plate. Indians have a 1-0 lead. It's going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Here's Lonnie Chisenhall now. Yeah, by the way, Rick, the Giants, it's since June 13th, San Francisco is 8-19. This one looked like they were maybe going to run away with the NL West.
Yeah, and they settled down, and now they're, tied with the Dodgers?
Started the day a game behind.
Okay, game behind. That's what happens when you get that run. You get off to a good start. When you hit that lull, it brings you back to the pack.
Yeah.
There's your Western Division standings. Nobody else. It's a two-team race in that division, and will be for the whole year.
Down in the dirt, blocked by Flowers. So I think, for the Indians, while the Indians' offense has certainly had some ups and downs, it's going to revolve. Their ability to make a run or not in the second half will depend on that starting rotation. If they can put together a couple of turns through and get guys going deeper into games, if they can find it, they've got a great chance. If they don't, then they're going to continue to be an inconsistent team. Corey Kluber will start the second game after the All-Star break. Trevor Bauer will start the first. Hit foul at the first baseline. So Friday in Detroit, when the Indians open play after the All-Star break, it will be Trevor Bauer, and then it will be Corey Kluber in the first game of that doubleheader. They'll need a second starter, which that could be Danny Salazar. It could be T.J. House, I suppose. We'll wait and see.
Could be McAllister. Yeah, you have to wait and see because they can call anybody up for that game there.
Offensively, the Indians are getting to Danks here. He retired the first 4 to start the game, but after Santana struck out, Ryan Rayburn with a good at bat drew the walk. Swisher singled to center, Gomes singled to center, and now it's been a 30-pitch inning for Danks as Lonnie Chisenhall awaits the 2-2. He tries to go up the middle. And it's going to work out well for the Indians as everybody's safe and the bases are loaded.
Well, Sanchez, I think, tried to get a little tricky and get 2 instead of just catching the ball and trying to get the first one at second base. I don't know if he could step on the bag. It certainly looked like he could. But he was in between steps, and he never even caught the ball initially. That could have been a double play. It should have been at least 1 out. But when he doesn't come up with it.
This has highlight reel written all over it. If he makes the catch, it's a double play easily.
So it goes as an error because he doesn't hold on to it. And that loads the bases for the Indians.
And with 1 out, Mike Aviles to the plate. And he takes a strike.
Talking about Danks, it's his 21st career start against the Tribe. In his career, he's 5-10 and a very high ERA of 5.45. They've had their success against him.
The 0-1. Waved at it, nothing in 2 the count. Hit foul. Aviles has been a very good 2-strike hitter. Mike's one of those guys that when he gets down on the count, he gets tough. He's batted .253 with 2 strikes. Did he go? He did. Buckner rings him up down at first base. 2 down. Aviles has his say, and let's C.B. Buckner know he doesn't agree with him.
Well, it's awfully close. It's close no matter how you slice that. Danks bounced that ball because of the pitch before. You can see how far that head out in front of home plate. He went down there because the pitch Aviles found off the pitch before.
2 down. Jason Kipnis the batter. Bases loaded. And he takes a strike. Indians still batting .347 as a team with the bases loaded, but that number has been steadily on the decline of late. Kipnis 1 for 6 in bases loaded situations. Drew a bases loaded walk yesterday, but he strikes out just like Aviles did on a check swing. So the Indians leave him loaded. They do get a run in, and they lead it 1-0 after 2. Sunnyside Honda at I-71 and Pearl Road in Middleburg Heights. Buy Levin Furniture. For the best deals on furniture and mattresses, shop Levin's. And buy Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. How about that? 1948 World Series. Last World Championship for the Indians. Carlos Sanchez going to lead off for Chicago here in the third.
Been a while, huh?
Yeah.
1948, a long time.
It's been talked about a lot here in the last couple of days with the news of LeBron James returning to the Cavaliers. Last championship for any of the three teams here in Cleveland, 1964. That's pre-Super Bowl era for the Cleveland Browns. So to say it's been a lengthy drought is the understatement of the last half century. Sanchez broke his bat, popped up on the infield his first time up.
Broke his bat and ended up giving the Indians a run.
1-2. Kipnis will flip it over. 1 down. Don't forget to tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have them shown during our telecast. It's all courtesy of AT&T. Jose Abreu takes up high for ball 1. Abreu has had quite an impact on the White Sox in Major League Baseball as a rookie coming over from Cuba. He is the polar opposite from the mercurial Yasiel Puig of the Dodgers. Abreu is very steady, very understated, rather quiet. But, man, when he puts the bat in motion, he can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, nothing quiet about it. Well, he's really fun to watch hit because he can hit a hanging breaking ball or a breaking ball in the zone. He can turn on the fastball. He's got great plate coverage. There's no one way to pitch him. And for a young player in this league, I think he makes great adjustments to pitchers he hasn't even faced before. What's he going to be like once he gets a book on some of these guys? And you know what? We're gonna see him a lot over the course of his career. 19 times a year. He did spend some time on the disabled list earlier this year, and he's already has the 50 extra base hits.
Nice job by Bauer. He strikes him out, 2 down. So Trevor Bauer has retired 3 in a row now. And this was just good fastball here.
There you go. Fastball, he gets by him. You get to 2 strikes, you try and foul that fastball off sometimes, and you can hit the breaking ball, but he throws that one by him.
Adam Dunn takes an off-speed pitch for a strike. Dunn, that walk is 55th of the year. One and one to count. Upstairs with it. 3 balls and a strike. Viciato would be next. Checked his swing and it's foul. If he'd have followed through about another half a foot, that'd have been a base hit down the left field line with that shift on. Ball 4, he walked him, and the White Sox have had a base runner every inning.
Yeah, he's walked Dunn twice today. Another Sugardale Dollar Dog Night will take place on Friday, August 1st when we return home off the road. The Texas Rangers will be in town. And then also there will be a post-game fireworks show that will be set to the hits of 1994. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Diane Viciato 0 for 1. He grounded out. And he looks at a ball up high. And it's up high again.
Send out some birthday wishes. Carl Carmichael of Beloit, Ohio is turning 94 today. Paul Castor of Willoughby, 91. We have Lois Stanley, who is turning 85. William Card, that is 85. And Jackson Hodke is turning 2 from Amherst. Happy birthday to each and every one of you.
High pop, foul ground, Santana. Makes the catch and hangs on. And the inning is over. We'll go to the bottom of the third. It's the Indians 1 and the White Sox nothing. Remember, stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Stepping in to lead things off for the Indians as Drupal Cabrera. Fly to right his only time up back in the first. He squares and he takes a strike. One ball, one strike. Finish up the birthday wishes for today. Rich Ruggiero in Kirtland is celebrating his 67th birthday this afternoon with friends and family. Up the middle it goes, and it's through as Drupal Cabrera with a leadoff single for the Indians here in the third. And as Michael Brantley comes to the plate, it's time for our Hear Right Audiology Sounds of the Game. Here's Michael on playing in the upcoming All-Star game.
Just being with all the great players that are going to be there with me. Just sitting back and kind of seeing how their routine is and try to pick their brain a little bit. It's an exciting experience just to go through my first one, and I'm very excited about it.
Brantley, 6th in the American League in batting average. He's tied for 8th in runs batted in. He's also 4th in runs scored. And as we told you earlier, 6th in hits. And he's also among the league leaders in a number of other categories. 2nd in assists as an outfielder.
Yeah, I see where Cespedes had one last night.
Lifted to left. Long run in for Diaza, but he is going to get there. Had to reach out at the last moment to make the catch. One away. There's just enough of a breeze blowing in from left field today and maybe across the field that it might have knocked that down more than Diaza realized.
Well, he was on a sprint for a long time until he finally caught up to it. He has to reach out right at the last moment to catch it. Boy, that came close to being a base knock.
Well, here is Carlos Santana. Chops one in the hole. And a base hit into left field. As Drupal Cabrera stops at second. And the Indians have 2 on with 1 out. And they now have 4 hits on the afternoon. Tuesday night, baseball's best gather in Minnesota. Derek Jeter in his last All-Star game. Special coverage begins at 4:30 on Fox Sports 1, followed by the 2014 All-Star Game, the Midsummer Classic, at 7:30, only on Fox. Now Ryan Rayburn, who walked and scored in the second inning. A hard hit ground ball to short. Sanchez to second. They get the out. Not a double play, though, and that was close. Santana might want to stay on the base, but Terry Francona is going to come out and at least ask Gary Cederstrom and give his video guy Greg Langben a chance to look at it again. It was close as to whether or not Beckham stayed on the bag to get the throw.
It should have been a double play ball. He brings Beckham off the bag. If he gets it on the bag, he turns it. It's a double play inning over. So the Indians catch a break. And you'll see, hard hit to Rayburn. He gets rid of it too quickly, and you can see where Beckham has to come off the bag after he makes a catch. I don't know how close it was. Let's take a look. There's the toe on the bag.
I guess he was still on it.
Close enough. That momentum carried him away, and that's like a neighborhood play. I don't know. You can't challenge that anyway.
So Carlos Sanchez a little shaky here in the early going for Chicago in his major league debut. He's already made an error, nearly made a second one.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if Ramirez is in this game, it's a 0-0 game.
I'd agree with that.
And a lot of times it's that double play unturned where you get that extra out. The Indians could take advantage right here. And Swisher, who had a base hit in his first at-bat, has an opportunity.
Almost hit him as Swisher jumps out of the way. Flowers can't stop it. Down to second goes Rayburn. Cabrera came a quarter of the way down the line at third base, but a ball just didn't get away far enough for him to come home. But now two are in scoring position, and a 2-0 count for Swisher.
That was like a little short hop for Flowers. That'll go as a wild pitch for Danks' seventh.
Swisher, who singled to center his first time up, could drive in a pair if he does it again. Breaking ball, hit on the ground to short, and Sanchez throws him out. No runs, 2 hits, 2 men left. After 3, it's Cleveland 1, Chicago 0. Albany, Ohio, 8 and under, state champs. Congratulations
they
to
got
the
their
Eagles.
Gloves. Yeah, look at the kids. They got their gloves waiting for a foul ball. I'm trying to
somebody
see.
hooked them up with a sweet, too. These are
trying
high
to see
rollers.
where they're at, where they're located. Let me see if they have a chance for a foul ball. Looks like they're all the way down the right field line. I don't know if you could hit a fungo that far. That'd be tough to get them. It's hard to tell.
Connor Gillespie going to lead off for Chicago. And a strike is called.
Oh, I've got them. They're right over here. Right behind the dish.
Like I said, these are high
next
rollers.
to the scoreboard room.
Yeah.
They got a chance.
They know people.
Yes, they do, unlike us.
Swung on and missed, and Gillespie goes down swinging. Third strikeout for Bauer, one down here in the fourth. Right now on FoxSportsOhio.com, Brian Hoyer on throwing out the ceremonial first pitch yesterday. More on LeBron James' return to Cleveland, and Urban Meyer and Thad Matta weigh in on the return of King James. It's all on FoxSportsOhio.com. Got to bring up Gordon Beckham. Double play his last time up unconventionally. He flied to left, and Aviles turned on a dime and threw a dart back to first base to double up Connor Gillespie.
That was Mike Aviles' first outfield assist. His 20th game in left field and his 26th in the outfield. That's in his career. But it was a heck of a throw. I mean, you see him play third base and you got to go over to the line and make a long throw. That was extra long.
Foul back out of play.
Let's take another look at it. We've got nothing to do here. Look at, he pushes off the railing and makes it all the way in the air, and he catches Connor Gillespie. Watch him go back. He slides. How nonchalantly come back. He doesn't have that kind of arm. Oh, yes, he does. He gone.
We didn't have a wide look. I wonder if Darryl Boston was telling him how urgently he needed to get back to the bag. The 3-2. Now the payoff pitch. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out. And now Bauer with 4 strikeouts.
Well, he's starting to get a feel now for that breaking ball again. Here we go. We're getting around the 70 pitch mark. There it is. What looked like it might have been a little slider compared to the curveball. Tightened it up. Gets the swing and miss. So back-to-back strikeouts here in the fourth.
Tyler Flowers a single his first time up. Lifts it out of play to the right.
Flowers had an 0-2 base hit on a curveball. I'm not sure this guy could catch up to Bauer's fastball, to be honest with you.
Hit it off the end of the bat. It hits the bag, stays fair, and it's going to be a hit. Flowers going to get greedy and go for 2. And he is in there safely. How about that? Oh, my.
You talk about, with the spin, it's going to hit the base. Santana's going to run over. He couldn't get in front of the base. So he has to play it, and it goes right off the bag. Ricocheted, and he hustles into scoring position. That's good hustle by Flowers. There's 2 outs. He just kept right on going. It was his decision, his 7th double of the year, but he got another breaking ball there in that situation.
It's a line drive down the line in the box score.
No question. You look at it tomorrow. Hey, boy, he had a single, a line drive double.
Lurie Garcia had a single his first time up. Out of play. 1-1. Flowers in scoring position. Indians lead at 1-0 here in the 4th inning. Chased it up high, and the count 1-2. Breaking ball swung out and missed. He chased one in the dirt. Gomes throws to first. The inning is over. Bauer strikes out 3 in the 4th. He has 5 in the game. And the Indians lead at 1-0.
On Saturday, August 2nd, the next homestand here. That's when they will reveal Jim Thome's statue out in center field, and 12,500 fans will get a replica statue. That'll be courtesy of KeyBank. So visit Indians.com and get your tickets.
Bottom third of the Indians order, 2 up here in the 4th. Yan Gomes, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Mike Aviles. John Danks has thrown 3 innings so far here today. He's given up a run on 4 hits. But the error played a big role in the Indians scoring that 1 run in the 2nd inning. Pop back out of play. Actually, looking back on it, didn't, did it? I think the error came after the hit by Gomes. Yeah. It was on the ball Chisenhall hit that the error took place.
Yes.
Slowly chopped to third. Gillespie unloads and got him. Nice play by Connor Gillespie at third base. 1 away.
Yeah, Gomes had the RBI single.
Yeah, I had marked it on my scorecard under Gomes in his box because he was the runner.
Gotcha.
But forgot it wasn't on his hit, so the error really not a factor.
Yeah, because he came up with back-to-back strikeouts after that error.
Yeah, that's where the Indians had a chance to make that error hurt. Had the bases loaded, only 1 out, but couldn't cash in. Lonnie Chisenhall began the day 4th best in the American League in batting average. Also 4th best in day games. His season average 328, 4th best, but in day games he was hitting 341. Walked him on 4 straight. One on, 1 out now for Mike Aviles. Hey, get inside the golf zone with Jimmy Hanlon tonight. He'll have the highlights of the John Deere Open and look ahead to the British Open. Boy, it's the British Open already. Tee it up tonight, 8 o'clock on Sports Time Ohio in the golf zone.
He's expanded for 2 hours. Jimmy, you need some fill, buddy.
He can fill it up, believe me. That won't be a problem.
For Jimbo? What are you saying there, pal?
That ball almost hit Lonnie Chisenhall as he went back to first. I'm saying he has such a depth of golf knowledge he can talk for hours.
I would agree. Figuring they may be off and running here with Aviles up at the plate. Aviles was the guy that struck out with bases loaded and didn't like the call on his check swing the last time up.
Upstairs with it, 1-1. Aviles looks down to Mike Sarbaugh at third. Now digs in as Chisenhall takes his lead at first. And a throw over drives him back. This will be the 70th pitch of the game. The only time the Indians have gone in order was in the first. Upstairs again, 2-1. Runner holds, and a 2-1 pitch is popped high and foul and out of play. 2-2. Aviles punches it towards right field, and it's going to drop and get by Viciedo. Chisenhall on his way to third. Aviles into second base and stops there, and the Indians have second and third with one out. It's a nice effort by Viciedo, and it's a tough play for Chisenhall, who's kind of caught in between. You don't know if he's going to catch it or not.
Right.
He's caught everything else in this series.
Well, yeah, he made that catch yesterday in left field. He started in right, was moved to left. Aviles picks that high curveball that he slaps to right. Now, Viciedo trapped one yesterday, and they overturned it. This one he couldn't get to, and he lets the ball get by him a little bit. See, Lonnie, he had to go halfway. He wasn't sure.
Did it well, though.
Yeah, he did, because the best he's going to do is get to third base anyway, and he does. Aviles goes into second with a double. So now the Indians with a great opportunity, second and third and one out, and you get back up to the top of the lineup.
Well, Jason Kipnis 0 for 2. Infield in.
The only thing I'll say about that is if Viciedo,
popped him up, shallow center, out goes Sanchez, makes the catch. 2 down.
the best Viciedo could have done in that ball, and when he was going to dive for it, he couldn't keep it in front of him because he had no body to put behind it. So the best it would have been is first and second if it falls in.
Yeah, he was kind of off balance when he went into the dive.
And he's so big. He's got such a big body. You got to go sideways to try and get that glove out in front, and then he couldn't keep a body in front of it. That's why it enabled him to go second and third. But right now, Danks made a good pitch. One pitch out to Kipnis, and he's got a chance to get out of the inning and keep it a 1-0 ball game. So out comes Ventura. He wants to talk to him.
Well, he's got Cabrera, the switch hitter, who had a base hit his last time up. Then you got Brantley, which is a lefty-lefty matchup. However, Brantley's been one of the best hitters in the American League this year. So probably talking over what do you want to do here? Who do you feel more comfortable against? Well, hoping he gives him the right answer.
Knowing the numbers that I know, I would say you go at this guy. Just be careful because Brantley's up. He's 2 for 40 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs as Drupal. And we know what Michael Brantley has done. So I'll take my chances here.
First pitch strike.
But the Indians with an opportunity to open up a lead now. Better than 1-0.
And they smashed it short. Sanchez with a long throw. Got him. Indians strand 2 more in scoring position. And after 4, it remains Cleveland 1, Chicago 0.
Teammates on Monday, July 28th. It's for the Mission Swisher Celebrity Scavenger Hunt. And you and 8 friends can partner up with one of our celebrities to search for the grand prize. And the scavenger hunt is from 4 to 6. It's followed by a silent auction. You have food and drinks, and all the proceeds will benefit the Swisher Family Foundation. And the event is nearly sold out. So you want to call 310-525-3755 for your tickets before they are gone. So once again, that's July 28th. We will return home, and we are starting the 5th inning. Trevor Bauer back on the mound. The Indians couldn't capitalize. 1-0 ball game. Chicago, no runs, 5 hits. They have made an error. Indians 1 run and 5 hits. Did that get the bat? I think it did. I think it got the end of the bat from De Asa. Goes as a foul ball because he's not shaking anything. He chokes up a little bit and looks like it gets the knob. It certainly does. What are the chances of that happening right there? Strike 1. Trevor Bauer now with 75 pitches, getting a feel for that curveball again, it seems like. He struck out the side last inning. Struck out Gillespie, Beckham. After the Flowers double off of first base, he ended up striking out Garcia as well. Gives him 5 on the afternoon. So an 0-2 count here to De Asa. Yes, he did. Little breaking ball. Gomes has to check it. Will end up throwing to first. And that's 4 straight strikeouts for Trevor Bauer. He's starting to get a feel. When he gets ahead, he'll get the hitters to chase that curveball down in the dirt. Gomes did a beautiful job of just putting the chest protector on it and the easy flip to first base. So once again, with Bauer on the mound in his last start against the Yankees, the first 3 innings he seemed to be all over the place and getting a feel. But starts settling in the middle part of the ball game and feels relaxed, easy, and just lets it go. Missed with the first pitch to Sanchez. Comes right back and gets a strike on the changeup. Carlos Sanchez, he is 0 for 2 today. Popped up to short, grounded out to second. Now again, Bauer ahead in the count, 1-2. The Indians with a win today would get back to the 500 mark at the All-Star break at 47-47. There again. Good curveball, 5 in a row, 5 straight for Bauer. 7 on the afternoon and another curveball. Here you'll see the curveball going straight down, that 12-6 curveball. Again, Gomes has to put a chest protector on it. And the breakdown for Trevor Bauer, 51 strikes, 29 balls, which is great when he started out the first couple innings struggling. 80 pitches now, 7 strikeouts, just 2 walks, and he has allowed 5 hits. Brings up Abreu, the big man. Abreu 1 for 2. And this is a guy now with 8 hits against the Indians this year. 5 of those hits make it 9. Fights off an 0-1 pitch and gets it. This guy is just flat out a good hitter. You know, he struck him out with a fastball and got it by him, but this time up, 0-1 pitch. He fights off the fastball, puts it in play, and gets it into right field for a base hit. 2 for 3. This young man is a good hitter. That'll give Adam Dunn an opportunity, who has walked twice this afternoon from Trevor Bauer. Both walks coming to Dunn. High fastball misses for a strike. Now, this is the 94th game for the Indians this year going into All-Star break. Last year at this point in time, they played 95, so only a game difference. But they had 51 wins at the break last year. Line drive hit right at Rayburn, who makes a sliding catch. Nice play by Rayburn to end the inning. You're going to see Rayburn running in, making a nice diving catch. That'll do it for the Indians, still leading 1-0.
And the Indians lead the White Sox still 1-0. Michael Brantley, Carlos Santana, and Ryan Rayburn due up for the Tribe. Brantley 0 for 2. He has grounded out and flied out. Pitch up high, ball 1. So far, the Indians have left 7 men on base, and 6 of the 7 that they have stranded have been in scoring position. So plenty of opportunities have escaped them already, but they lead it 1-0. Brantley sends a high drive to deep right field.
I think he got
Back
it.
is Viciedo. He's going to make the catch right at the 375-foot mark for out number 1.
I thought he had enough, and I think he did too, because when he was in between first and second, he put his head up and couldn't believe it. But Viciedo went right to that 375-foot sign and put his glove up there all the way at the end and puts it away. And watch Michael Brantley here. I think he thought he had one. Oh, you got to be kidding me. He doesn't show much emotion, but he did right there. He had a nice hanging breaking ball to hit, and he just missed it. Didn't get a chance to look at the reaction here from John Danks, and he's thinking, thank goodness that one stayed in, huh? Boy, I caught a break there. That's
Up the
good
middle.
reactions by everybody.
Beckham flips it over, and Santana retired for out number 2. Our in-game recap is brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Not much to recap. No. Yan Gomes with an RBI single up the middle in the second. It's the only run of the game. Trevor Bauer has made it stand up thus far. He has allowed 6 hits, but he has struck out 7 in 5 innings of work.
He's getting much better as this game rolls along.
Fastball strike. Swing and a miss. Rayburn down 0-2. Able to hold up. Ryan drew a walk with 1 out in the second inning, and he came around to score the game's only run. In the dirt, 2-2. Rayburn socks one to center field. Garcia almost came in too far, but he's able to recover and make the catch. The Indians go in order for the first time since the first inning. They lead it 1-0. Hashtag STO fan photo for a chance to have them shown during one of our telecasts this year. It's all courtesy of AT&T. Dion Viciedo 0 for 2. He is grounded out, fouled out. Trevor Bauer's finding his groove. Last 2 innings, he's made 28 pitches. 22 have been strikes. He's had 7 swings and misses, and he's piled up 7 strikeouts now in the ball game.
There you see as he gets better as the game goes on. Last couple of starts.
Bullpen is quiet as Bauer starts the 6th inning.
5 out of his last 6 outs have come via the strikeout.
And Viciedo muscles it into center field for a leadoff single.
That's exactly what he did. He muscled that fastball.
Time now for a Mazda game break. Let's send it out to Al Pawlowski.
All right, Matt, Rick, let's go down to Houston where the Boston Red Sox have the early lead. Brock Holt leads off the game with his 3rd home run of the season. He's batting .317 now on the year. Boston adds another in the 2nd, so they lead the Astros now 2-0 in Houston. Matt?
Thanks, Al. Detroit and Kansas City are scoreless there in the 3rd inning. Kansas City began the game just a game in front of the Indians in the AL Central.
Big Al taking in some sunshine today at the ballpark out there. So he did that cut in with his shirt off.
Oh, I thought he was just wearing a white shirt.
Well, yeah, he was. Did they have a bow tie on?
Connor Gillespie is singled and struck out. 3 hits in the series. Connor Gillespie working it old school style, no batting gloves. And that 2-0 fouled back. Three and one. And the 3-1 offering is popped up. Looks like it's playable. Santana. Now it's drifting into the seats and just beyond his reach. I think that's that breeze that's blowing in from left and just kind of across the diamond.
I think you're right.
I think it pushed it right towards the last moment because he was under it and looked like he was going to have a play.
And
then
he's cruising over. Second or third row. That was it. I think that did push it a little bit. This next thing you know, here comes Kipnis into play with an opportunity.
So a full count for Connor Gillespie. You know, Gillespie, when he was with San Francisco, he was blocked at third base by Pablo Sandoval. But this turns out like it could be a pretty good trade for Chicago. Jeff Soptic was a pitcher that went to the Giants that brought them Gillespie. Ball 4. 2 on, nobody out.
Well, they started the runner 1-0 game. That's only the third walk and for Bauer, and now the White Sox will have runners at first and second and nobody out.
Nick Hagedorn getting loose. But you got nothing but right-handed hitters the next 3. Not that Hagedorn is a matchup guy, but Gordon Beckham 0 for 2 here today. And a foul tip for strike 1. Throw it right by him. 96 miles an hour, and up the ladder he goes to get the count 0-2. And the 0-2. Swing and a miss. He waves at a ball in the dirt.
Boy, he just took advantage of Beckham.
8th strikeout of the day for Bauer.
I mean, he was overmatched. And when you look at Bauer on his strikeouts today, you're going to see the first one on a curveball. The only strikeout he had was right there on a fastball. All the rest of them are coming on off-speed pitches. Good curveball, little slider, curveball right there, all in the dirt. Gets ahead of him, you get the swings and misses. So he has 8 on the day. 1 fastball, the rest of them on breaking balls.
Tyler Flowers 2 for 2. He has singled. That was on a breaking ball. And then he doubled on a ball that was hit off the end of the bat. It squibbed its way up the first baseline, and it hit the bag and bounced over Santana's head and would go for an odd-looking double.
Bauer has 16 swings and misses today.
Throw it right by him, just rearing back, saying, here it is, go get it. 0-2.
Well, with the 2 hits he had on the breaking balls, he took the first fastball. I like it. They're good. See, then if he can hit that breaking ball away, it's time to power him in. And that's exactly what Bauer did this time for the first 2 pitches. Let's see how he puts them away, or tries to.
Breaking ball, and it stayed out in front of the plate. And it's not going to be a double play. Very close. Very close. Viciedo is retired 2-5 on the fielder's choice.
Boy, this one stayed just right out in front of the plate, and Gomes jumps on it, and it is in fair territory. He gets to it quickly. Little low throw to Chisenhall, but by the time Flowers beats it out, plenty of time.
So first and second, 2 down. And the number 9 hitter, Lurie Garcia, who is 1 for 2 today. And this will be the 100th pitch of the day as Bauer tries to work out of some trouble here in the 6th. The first 2 reached with nobody out, but now 2 gone. And it's up and away, ball 1. Pretty consistent.
Yeah, sure is.
Foul back. The mask of Gomes.
Boy, knocked it right off his head.
Down Isanya giving Jan an extra moment to gather himself. Bauer's 1-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. Throw it right by him, and now throw it on to second base into center field. It goes, but nobody able to advance here. I like the thinking by Gomes there because Gillespie was way off the bag. But it's almost like he had a double clutch to get the throw off.
Well, watch. He thinks he's going to hit that ball. And that's why he probably ventured out there with his secondary lead trying to get an extra jump. He doesn't even know the ball's in center field. Gillespie went down, head down, didn't have any idea where that ball went. So no harm.
2 on, 2 out. 1-2 count on Garcia. Bauer deals. Strong on and missed. He struck him out, and that's 9 for Trevor Bauer. White Sox strand a pair.
Celebrate Slider's birthday party. It'll all take place August 3rd. Slider's mascots, his friends will be in town, and it is a kids' fun day on Sunday, so you can run the bases after the game. So come on and celebrate Slider's birthday. I don't know how old he is. He doesn't. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
For the Indians here in the bottom of the sixth, it will be Nick Swisher, Yan Gomes, and Lonnie Chisenhall. One. Good cut, but he fouled it right back. Hit over by the Tribe dugout. A ball and 2 strikes. Little check swing. Beckham gobbles it up, throws him out, 1 away. Up comes Yan Gomes. Gomes drove in the only run of this game back in the 2nd inning with an RBI single up the middle. I know it's still early, but offense tough to come by today. Tampa Bay leads Toronto 1-0 in the 5th. Boston over Houston 2-0 in the 2nd. Detroit over Kansas City 2-0 in the 3rd. So pitching dominating on this, the final game before the All-Star break. Fouled off over toward the Tribe dugout. Milwaukee leading St. Louis 2-0. They're in the 3rd inning. Highest scoring game so far is Atlanta beating Chicago 3-0. Ripped foul. Of course, sometimes it's the guys that are pitching that have a lot to do with the scores. David Price is on the hill today for Tampa. You've got Sonny Gray going for his 10th win for Oakland. Verlander's going today for Detroit. Banks was looking for his 9th win of the day here for Chicago, and he's given up 1 run. He's pitched very well, but Trevor Bauer's been a little bit better. Johnny Cueto going for his 10th win of the day for Cincinnati against Pittsburgh. Ryu's going for his 10th win of the day for the Dodgers, or 10th win of the year. Gomes a grounder to short. 2 down. Phillip Hughes for Minnesota. He's looking for his 10th win.
Wow. He's had a nice year for them, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you wonder where would they be without him. They're 43-50 coming into today. And Phil Hughes on the year is 9-5 for Minnesota. Lonnie Chisenhall takes a breaking ball in there for a strike. And Lonnie trying to punch one into center field. That's going to drop for a base hit. So a 2-out single will keep the inning alive. And Chisenhall 1 for 2 today. Looks like it was down off the end of the bat maybe, or near the trademark.
Well, he gets it in there. It doesn't matter where. He's hit some balls right on the nose in this homestand and had nothing to show for it. So give me some hits. He gets one right there, and that's a 2-out single for Lonnie. That's 6th hit for the Indians.
And a strike to Mike Aviles, who doubled his last time up. And Avila shoots one into right field. Chisholm all around second, and he'll stop right there. Viciedo got off a good throw to the cutoff man. Back-to-back singles with 2 outs in the 6th inning now for Cleveland. Top of the order. And Jason Kipnis.
He's going to leave this changeup upstairs and taken advantage of by Mike Aviles, taking it the other way. His approach was very good that way, going to right field. Danks helped him out because he elevated the pitch. So it's back-to-back 2-out singles. That'll give Kipnis another opportunity now.
And that'll get the White Sox bullpen busy.
He has had chances today. His 2nd inning, he had bases loaded. Chance to get some in. He had 2 guys on in the 4th inning. And they had a chance to get him home. So 3rd opportunity with a runner in scoring position.
Upstairs, ball 1. Popped out a plate on the left side. Hit him. And the bases are loaded.
That's a break for the Indians.
Down to the count.
Yeah. He just caught him on the, it looked like the sleeve of the jersey. So now with 2 outs and nobody on, Danks is going to have to face a bases loaded situation. Just got him on that sleeve. See the umpire right on it. He caught it. Sends him to first. So now Danks gets an opportunity to face Cabrera with the bases full.
Well, he had Cabrera up with 2 down and runners at 2nd and 3rd in the 4th inning, and he grounded out. Now he's up with the bases loaded and 2 down in the 6th. Man, he takes a strike. Ground ball to short. And the inning is over, and the Indians strand 3 more. They've left 10 through 6. They lead it 1-0. ballpark as you take a look in at downtown Cleveland from our Panini's Overstuffed cam. Trevor Bauer, a career high 9 strikeouts here this afternoon. He struck out 3 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, 2 more here in the 6th. Or in the 6th. He's going now into the 7th inning. Just over 100 pitches on the day.
All breaking balls except one. He has done a fine job. 7 hits, scattered them. Career high 9 punchies. Gotta love it. They will have the bullpen ready to go. Remember last inning they had the first 2 guys on base.
Right-hander Bryant Shaw, left-hander Mark Zubczynski getting loose. I mentioned before, Bauer will start on Friday against the Tigers in Detroit. So he'll be going on his normal 4 days rest. Corey Kluber will get a little extra breather, and he'll start the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday. Wow, that was awfully good, but called a ball, and it's 2-1 on De Aza, who is 0 for 3 and has struck out twice. He's 2 for 11 in the series. Fastball sailed high, 3-1. To center field, Michael Brantley barely has to move. 1 away.
Well, another Sugardale Dollar Dog night. That'll be August 5th. The Indians will take on the Cincinnati Reds. They'll come in for 2. We'll go down there for 2. And the first 10,000 fans will get a Indians duct tape, courtesy of SureTech. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Carlos Sanchez 0 for 3 today in his major league debut. And his first at bat, it cost him a bat. Bat shattered in his hands as he popped up on the infield. Foul over top of the Indians dugout. And it's 0-2. Downstate, it's raining in Cincinnati. Reds and Pirates are in a rain delay. Cincinnati was ahead 3-1. Oh, just missing that time with a 2-strike pitch. Bauer looking for his 10th strikeout of the day. And just missing a tad low. Swung out and missed. He got him. A new career high 10 strikeouts for Trevor Bauer. 2 down in the 7th.
Again, what's it come on? A breaking ball. There's the curveball straight down. You get Sanchez to swing over the top. Boy, what an effective pitch that has been for him today.
Usually, Rick, you get the double figures and strikeouts. There's 1, if not 2, called third strikes mixed in there. All 10. I believe all 10 have been swinging.
That's what I see. I don't have any called.
De Aza and Sanchez both swung and missed, and the balls were in the dirt. And that speaks to the depth and the bite of that curveball today. Abreu takes a little slider. 1-1. Abreu struck out in the 3rd inning. He has also singled twice. on a play. So this Sunday afternoon crowd has watched Trevor Bauer go out and pitch a gem to this point. 1-0 Cleveland. Hits even at 7 apiece. The 2-2 to Abreu. And he punches one into right field for his third hit of the day, showing you that he's not just simply an all-or-nothing type hitter.
Well, this one was the breaking ball he takes the other way. The last time up it was his fastball back in the 5th inning. You know, he was tardy on, but this was a hanging breaking ball, but it stayed inside. Maybe it's a good thing it stayed inside because he just fights it off and takes it to right field. That's going to do it for Trevor Bauer, but what an afternoon, man. What a great job. 8 hits, 10 strikeouts, 3 walks. He'll depart, you know, and he's still the pitcher record. He's got a chance to get a win here. Boy, he battled his way. A nice tip of the cap.
A new personal best, 10 strikeouts for Bauer this afternoon. And it's time now for the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen as left-hander Mark Zipchinski will be coming on to face big left-handed hitter Adam Dunn when we come back. Well, Trevor Bauer giving the Indians a chance here today with a shutout performance through 6 2/3. He departs with a runner at first. And Adam Dunn coming to the plate to face Mark Zipchinski. And Zipchinski, the workhorse, out here for the 46th time this year. Mark has retired 36 of the 45 first batters that he has faced.
Must do a little groundwork on the mound. Dig out his landing area. I don't know if Danks is landing in the same spot or close to it.
Low, 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball in there for a strike. Zipchinski gets ahead 1-2. One out of 6 in his career. That one was a home run. Abreu the tying run at first. And the 1-2 in the dirt. Broke his bat, and coming in to grab it is Cabrera. And the inning is over. Nice job by Zubchinski, and Trevor Bauer goes 6 2/3 shutout innings here this afternoon. Indians stay on top 1-0, and we've reached the 7th inning stretch. Brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard. Buying a car shouldn't be. Well, 1-0. Cleveland on top, bottom of the 7th. It's Miller time. Brought to you by Miller Lite. First half highlights. How about the triple play in Los Angeles? Brantley home to Gomes. That's the second out. And then Puig's trying to go to third. Originally called safe, but overturned on replay. He was out at a triple play.
Yeah, and a double replay look at it, because then the Dodgers came out and challenged the call at home plate after the Indians did it at second base. It was great. A weird triple play, but it still was a triple play.
John Danks over 100 pitches on the afternoon, staying on to work here in the bottom of the 7th. He's got Brantley, Santana, and Rayburn. Michael bounces at the second. One away. Time for a Mazda game break once again. Here's Al.
Well, Matt, the Tigers have won 6 straight. They've won 17 of their last 22, and maybe this is the reason why. J.D. Martinez, little blooper to left. The Royals lose it in the sun. There it falls. It's an RBI single. 2-0 Tigers over Kansas City. 4th inning at Kauffman Stadium, Matt.
All right, thanks, Al. Here is Carlos Santana, 1 for 3 on the afternoon. Santana had a base hit back in the 3rd inning. Reaches for it, bounces it to 3rd. 2 down. And up comes Ryan Rayburn. Rayburn walked and scored the only run of the game in the 2nd inning. It's one of only 2 walks today by John Danks. He has also hit a batter. White Sox have actually out-hit the Indians 8-7. Both teams have now left 10 men on base. But the Indians have stranded 8 of their 10 in scoring position. Bounced in front of the plate. Only 5 of the White Sox 10 that they have left have been in scoring position.
Yes, he did.
Rayburn strikes out. The Indians go 1-2-3. We head to the 8th. Cleveland 1, Chicago 0. May not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Well, the Indians with a 1-0 lead, and what's left of the bridge is right before your very eyes. They demoed the rest of it a couple of days ago. It was over in about 1.1 seconds.
That's it, huh?
There was a flash and poof.
Wow.
It was gone. Hey, stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up after the game here on Sports Time Ohio. Indians go back to the bullpen. Brian Shaw. Shaw making his 45th appearance of the year. He's got Viciedo, Gillespie, and Beckham due up for the White Sox here in the 8th. Up high, ball 1. There's John Danks. He's pitched a good ball game. Like Trevor Bauer, he's on the short end, though.
Yeah, he's been able to keep his team right there. One swing away.
Viciedo was trying to tie it up with a big swing, but the slider dipped away, and it's 1-2. Swung on and missed. Shaw strikes out Viciedo, 1 away here in the 8th.
Well, when you look at Trevor Bauer, look at he's got 2 different breaking balls. Right there's the slider. Look at the spin at it. You can see the rotation. It's 3/4. Watch when this curveball comes straight over the top to 12-6. That's the curveball. So you got to look at another curveball. There's the curveball and the slider. They do 2 different things.
Well, that curveball's got such sharp, straight down movement.
That's the one that they've been swinging at in the dirt.
Gillespie fouls it back. The 0-1 hit up the middle, and it's going to get through. And Gillespie's got another hit. What do you know? His 2nd of the day, his 4th in the series.
Well, this guy just, he's having one of those years. Everything he hits is finding a hole. And he's been swinging it well. So that's 9 hits now for the White Sox, a 1-out single.
Gets away from Gomes, and the tying run into scoring position.
That is not good. This one just took off. That'll probably be a wild pitch. Gomes was sitting in there position, and he just hung on to that pitch a little too long. But what it does, it gives him that extra base, and that's the tying run out there at 2nd.
Man, it's now 2-0 on Beckham. Pulled it foul. 2 balls and a strike. Check the swing, and it's over the top of the Sox dugout into the crowd. Here's the 2-2 now. Beckham right up the middle, and it's through. Coming around third, Gillespie with the tying run. Brantley's throw is not in time. And Gomes trying to pick up the ball. Beckham's going to hold it first. He was about halfway trying to get to second base, but he holds it first, and the White Sox tie the game. So the wild pitch costly here in the 8th.
It sure is, boy. When you're in a one-run game, the little things mean a lot. And that is a little thing right there that meant a lot. A breaking ball. Beckham catches up with it, hits it up the middle. So Gillespie is on his way. That's the tying run. It is a 1-1 ball game now, and no decision for Trevor Bauer.
Tyler Flowers, 2 hits on the day. Swing and a miss. And the count quickly 0-2. Well, the Indians' bullpen has been terrific lately. A 1.50 ERA since June 25th. But Shaw, with a couple of hits and mixing a wild pitch, and the White Sox tie the game here in the 8th. Wow, another foul ball into the seats with no time to react. Right over the top of the on-deck circle. Back-to-back singles in the 8th inning for Chicago. And Tyler Flowers down on the count 1-2. Pops him up, and this is foul and out of play. Beckham has 2 stolen bases this year. Flowers awaiting the 1-2 pitch. White Sox now have 10 hits in the game.
Certainly paying a lot of attention to Beckham. Only has 2 steals on the year. I just think maybe in this situation he wants to throw a breaking ball and he wants to keep him close over there at first.
Runner goes. Little tapper out in front of the plate. Gomes throws to first. Flowers retired, 2 down. And it brings up Lurie Garcia. That's the second time Flowers has done that today.
Yeah.
He did that back in the 6th inning, hit it out in front of the plate, and Gomes was able to throw out Viciedo at third base on a force.
Yeah, that one there went a little bit farther. That one, his last out.
And a strike. Bouncer up the middle. Kipnis can't get it. It gets in the center field, and the White Sox take the lead.
Wow, right under his glove. Don't know if he thought it was going to take a higher hop or not, but Beckham comes in to score.
And Chicago with 2 in the 8th.
Wow,
Have
this
taken the
ball
lead.
going to his right. It looks like it's a backhanded play. He just never gets down on the ball. Give him a base hit. Wow. Well, that's a play I know Kipnis should make. He knows he should make that play. You could see the way he pounded his glove and looking up to the sky.
Alejandro De Aza is 0 for 4. Runner goes, pitch out, throw down. Not in time. Ball took a bad hop, and Garcia will stay at second. Garcia has his 9th steal.
The second of the day. Yeah, they even guessed right, and they couldn't get him. On the throw, it's going to short hop and get into center field, but he doesn't go anywhere. It's a short hop. Cabrera gets into center field, but Garcia just comes up and stays right there. Wasn't going to push it. But he's in scoring position. Now you're going to get a walk. So this has been a bad inning for the Indians.
Yeah, he'll take a crack at the rookie. Sanchez making his major league debut here today now. So 2 on, 2 out, and up comes Sanchez. Cody Allen up, I'm assuming, in case Shaw walks Sanchez and Abreu ends up coming to the plate. First ball swinging, Sanchez grounds out to end the inning. But the Sox get their first 2 runs of the day, and they now lead it 2-1. Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, is coming up after the game here on Sports Time Ohio. Bottom of the 8th inning, Swisher, Gomes, and Chisenhall due up for the Tribe, and Javi Guerra coming on now for Chicago. Guerra's 18th appearance of the year.
Danks now is in line for the White Sox as far as the win goes, because he went his 7, gave up 7 hits, 1 run, he walked 2, struck out 4. So we'll see if the Indians going to have a little comeback left in them here before they hit the All-Star break.
Guerra worked 2/3 of a scoreless inning last night, but he did walk Jason Kipnis with the bases loaded that forced in a run. Upstairs, ball 1. Inside, he missed, and it's 2-0. Swung on and missed. 2 balls and a strike. And he bloops it into left field, a base hit. The Indians get their leadoff man aboard here in the 8th. And Swisher is the tying run at first now.
Well, Guerra left this ball up. It was a big hanging breaking ball that Swisher had jammed him. But I'll tell you what, he finds a way to get a base hit. Takes it the other way. Finds some outfield grass. Leadoff man aboard. That is the tying run. The winning run comes to home plate, or the go-ahead run, I should say.
Gomes, an RBI single back in the 2nd, driving in the Indians' only run. And it's a little bit high. Ball 1. The Chicago outfield playing Gomes as a dead pull hitter. Garcia crowding him over to left center. De Aza more or less straight up, but pretty deep in left.
Where does he think Swisher's going?
Well, he's a tying run, so I guess he's just going to keep an eye on him.
Well, he can keep an eye on him. Swish has 1 stolen base in the 2 years here.
Gomes down the right field line, but it's going to slice foul out of play. Hit the side wall. And the count is 1-1. Boy, if he'd have kept that fair, that would have been nice. Left-hander Eric Surkamp, right-hander Jake Petrichka.
That was the trio we saw in yesterday's ball game, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
The 1-1. Gomes again to right field. Well hit. Viciato back on the track. He's out of room. It's out of here! Yan Gomes with a 2-run homer into the White Sox bullpen. And just like that, the Indians come back to take the lead. 12th home run of the year for Gomes. RBIs number 35 and 36. He's driven in all three for Cleveland this afternoon.
How about that? He was going that way. He just missed, and then he picks on another breaking ball. And he was able to keep this one fair. And it just sneaks into the White Sox bullpen. Wow, what a big hit for Gomes. And back come the Indians. They answer that 2 runs that the White Sox put on, and they do it in a hurry.
And now Lonnie Chisenhall checks his swing, and it's fouled off. While Nick Swisher bloops a single into left, and Yan Gomes drives one out of here to right. And in 2 batters, the Indians come right back to take the lead. Who loves it more than Brian Shaw? Chisenhall with a hit in 2 trips today. Also had a walk. Punched up in the air to left, but Deazzo barely has to move. 1 away. So Yan Gomes, who it seems like, Rick, most of the time when we see him hitting home runs, their ball's down that he's pulling, hitting the left field. But he drove that one to right. And it's funny because the pitch before he almost hit fair, but it was just a little bit foul, hit off the sidewall down the right side.
Yeah, that was a liner. That would have been a double down the line.
Mike Avila's fouling it back.
Well, that has been the Achilles heel for the White Sox, is the bullpen. Giving up a lot of leads late in the ball games. They don't have a true closer, so that bullpen is in disarray.
Fouled right back. 1-2. Well, and here again, the Indians' ability to score late on the homestand. They've scored 18 runs from the 7th inning on. Out of play. In fact, in the 7th and 8th innings alone, they've outscored the opposition 17-3 on the homestand. Big chopper to short. Sanchez stays with it and throws him out. 2 down. In-game box score brought to you by your Hyundai dealers. And as you take a look, Yan Gomes with 2 hits, 3 runs driven in. Lonnie with a base hit. Mike Aviles has a pair of hits. Even though the Indians have left 10 men on base in the game, and 8 of those 10 have been in scoring position, they're now in position for a win. Jason Kipnis 0 for 3 today, was hit by a pitch his last time up. Fastball at the knees on the outside corner. Got a timeout because a ball came loose. Got loose from the bullpen. And a foul over third base side. Yan Gomes' 2-run homer has the Indians in front as he starts to think about Cody Allen coming on now to pitch tonight. Thinking about who he'll be facing. It'll be Abreu, Dunn, and Viciedo. Oof. Kipnis takes a called third strike. But Yan Gomes has the Indians in position to take a win into the All-Star break. Go now to the ninth inning. And looking back at our Wayside Furniture keys to the game, Trevor Bauer, another gutsy performance here this afternoon. Struck out a career-high 10. And went 6 2/3 scoreless. Offensively, the Indians had a tough time with Danks. I mean, he was good. Give him credit. He was looking for his 9th win of the year today.
Yeah, Danks went from being a losing pitcher to having a chance to be a winning pitcher to now a no decision. And it's up to Cody Allen for the Indians to come on and look for his 12th save heading into the break. He's done a great job. 11 out of 12 in that situation. 40 2/3 innings, 53 strikeouts. He's going to face Abreu, Dunn, and Viciedo are the scheduled hitters as he's going to run into. You got Murphy out in right field. Coming in for Rayburn.
Now the White Sox have won 4 times in one-run fashion against the Indians. So perhaps turnabout is fair play if the Indians can close it out now. Jose Abreu to lead it off. And a strike. As I said before we went to the break, it won't be easy because Cody's got the toughest hitters in the Chicago lineup. Abreu, who has 29 homers to lead the league. Dunn and Viciedo. All home run threats. Good looking pitch. Just in off the plate, 1-1. Swing and a miss. Good breaking ball. And Abreu is out in front of it.
Well, here's that good hook by Cody. He gets him to swing and miss. Excellent pitch.
Abreu shoots it to right, but it's foul. He has 2 hits that way today.
Yeah, he's got 3 on the day, and I'll tell you, not all of them are solid. But he's that goes to show you the type of hitter he is. He's not a guy that just gets up there and swings the bat for home runs.
Now the 1-2. High fastball. Did he go? No, says C.B. Buckner. The most unpopular man in the ballpark right now.
Well, look at it from the side and see what you think. I think he held up.
Good call. Now the 2-2. Breaking ball fouled back. Abreu is no ordinary rookie. Seasoned player in Cuba, but now playing against the world's best competition and flourishing. The 2-2. Fastball hit on the ground to short. Cabrera has it. Throws him out 1 away. Up comes Adam Dunn. He is 0 for 2 with 2 walks. David Murphy now in the game defensively in right field. Earlier, Rayburn took a hit away from Dunn with a solid play in right. The Indians have the shift, 3 on the right side. And the 0-1 pitch is a little bit low. Down low, 2 balls and a strike. In addition to the 12 saves that the 11 saves that Cody Allen has, looking for number 12. This is his 46th game that he has pitched in. Swing and a miss.
But came right back with another good hook. Didn't give in. 2-1 count. He's got a good one today, too. He threw that one for a strike, got the swing and a miss.
Now the 2-2. Struck him out looking. Two down in the 9th.
Yeah, this is his bread and butter right there. Came in and threw it for a strike, and it locked up Adam Dunn. 2 outs, 1 to go.
And Dion Viciedo, the batter. He is 1 for 4 here today. And a breaking ball over the outside corner at the knees for a strike. And the 0-1. Swung on and missed. The high heat blew it right by him. Cody Allen's 2-strike pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out to end the game. Allen nails down his 12th save. And the Indians come from behind to win it, to take the series, and even their season record at 47-47 as they head into the All-Star break. The winning pitcher is Brian Shaw. He goes to 4-2. The loser is Javi Guerra for Chicago, and he goes to 0-2 on the year. The loss will send the White Sox home to the break 45-51 on the year. 18,070 the attendance here this afternoon. Beautiful afternoon. The Indians had a 1-0 lead going into the 8th inning. Chicago would get 2 to take a 2-1 lead, but in the bottom half, Yan Gomes turned it around with one swing of the bat. Time now for our key play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
Well, speaking of Yan Gomes, he had an opportunity, a line drive before that home run, thinking it was going to be fair. It's a big breaking ball, and he knew it was going to go foul. It hits the railing. But rarely do you see this. You come back up, and on the next pitch, he's going to juice one into right center field, gets into their bullpen. That gives them the lead. They're able to hang on and win it 3-2. A huge hit for Gomes. He drove in all 3 runs today. That'll be our KeyBank play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
Well, just a terrific job by the Indians to show their resolve today to come back and get a much-needed win, 3-2. The final scores, the Indians will take a little momentum into the All-Star break. The Indians will go in having won 8 of their last 12. And let's go down to the field now where we're joined by Cody Allen, who nailed down today his 12th save of the season, but it was his 46th appearance on the year. And Cody, what kind of go through your range of emotions? You're out there in the bullpen, the team's down, and then while you're out there, Gomes hits the home run to put the team up, so you got to ramp up and get ready to come in for a save now.
It's awesome. Gomer came up there and hit a big homer when we needed it most, and I think anybody who watched us last year know that we're never out of a ball game. So, anything can happen. So we're kind of down there thinking we're going to put something together, and we did.
Well, it has to be a good feeling for you, Cody, when you're out on the mound and you've got a curveball like you did today. It was outstanding, and it looked like you could throw it any time you wanted to for anywhere you wanted to.
Yeah, I just try and just make one good pitch at a time. Sometimes the breaking ball's there, sometimes it's not. Luckily today I had it, and I needed it against some good hitters in Abreu and Dunn and Viscaíno. Abreu, he's a very good hitter, so I had to mix it up best way I could, move the fastball around, and thankfully hit a ground ball to short.
Cody, a lot's been made of the fact that you, Mark Szybczynski, Brian Shaw, you guys are up there right among the league leaders, 1, 2, and 3 sometimes, and in appearances out of the bullpen. Are there times where you come in going, I don't know how many bullets I have today, or do you guys just look at it like, hey, I'm ready every day, call on me?
Our job's to pitch when we're called upon. Tito, I think, has done a good job of, we've got a lot of games, but none of us have really warmed up a lot and not gone in, so, those can take a toll on you, and they've done a good job of getting us in the game when we've been warmed up. So, with us, it's kind of one day at a time. We're trying to win some ball games, piece it together any way we can.
Got to be nice to go into the break with a win, though.
It's awesome to go into the break with a win at 500 and hopefully come out on a roll next half.
Cody, thanks for your time. Great job in the first half. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
That's Tribe closer Cody Allen, who nailed down his 12th save here this afternoon as the Indians win it, take the series from the Sox, and we'll have some final thoughts when we come back.